Good morning. And they are setting us up differently today because, that's just how it goes. So, welcome to Third Eye Integration Nation. And what we're asking today is if anybody needs to cut out early, I want you to speak early. There are things that need to be shared, and sometimes you guys are quiet and then we don't hear from everybody. And certainly, here in Third Eye, in this nebulous territory, I don't fucking know. We're going to learn from each other what this third eye is. And in our activation later today, we're going to really sit with the element, the Seker of Akasa. And I kind of love this request because, like, for me, I'm like, I don't understand. I've been sitting with it for as long as you guys have, essentially. But I'm like, I don't really get it. So we're going to do an initiation today into that element of Akasa to learn from. So let's just go ahead and arrive. Hello, kono kushe, saina akia a lo kono ku. As we ask not only for peace in our hearts, setting your Jed. Setting that stability of self through all three of your temples. Sanaitli ki yai ki aki. And Mersefing the fuck out of anything that needs it right now, please. Anything that's living in your field, in your belly, living in you as worry or stress, as burden, anything that feels heavy, please. Let's give that to the fires with a Mersef. Let's feed our woes to Sekhmet and our joy to our Ongsa. And maybe begin today with some Ong, your name, Sa. Oh, thanks. In this place of your Ong you saw, celebrate just how far you've come on this journey. Anything this week that's come up that could have been harder, but you navigated it differently. Sa ila okrini ia loku no ja oli na u krishna I ulo no sono u krishna no usana I ha u sha ulo kuno ku shai ni I. And I want you with an Ong Sa to come up and bring all of attention to third eye today. If you'd like to build it up all the way through root up to your third eye with an Ong Sa, giving that second permission to move. As we call forward Sekhmet and Shisahat today, to teach, to guide, to illuminate, to give us the gnosis of, thanks, as we open our hearts to each other. So glad you're here. And I love how they brought that in. Like, what have you navigated differently that you can recognize, not necessarily as a direct result of our work here, but yeah, I kind of shared mine over on Instagram where I was like, oh, that's different, huh? Where did you surprise yourself recently? FYI, I'm really good at the fucking mysteries. I can sit in silence forever, y'all. In that sitting in silence, what I'll say is I get less attached to this reality. It's much easier for me to just resource from something else.
I can explain what I meant by my comment earlier
I love
a
that.
little bit. Um, I went to New York. I went to New York City just to see a show that I planned to go see 3 years ago. You know, one of those things. So what's time? And it was a funny podcast, live podcast thing. So it was just what I needed in terms of that. But the process of going to the city and seeing people and walking around and feeling the energy and, you know, do I have to wear a mask on the train? I think is where this like thing happened. Um, where I realized that I usually follow the rules, that I've always thought of myself as a rule follower. And then
Hold
they
on.
kind of came in.
Okay, cute. I don't know how we could engage in this as a
I
rule
know.
follower.
I
FYI,
know.
adorable. Okay.
So this is like an old idea, you know, like growing up. They were showing me basically that like
You're the good boy.
we come into we incarnate, right? And we come in here and we're so unique. And then all we do is get trained how to be like everybody else. And then so that's what I mean by it's like they were kind of like, no, you're following the rules when it serves you to blend in because you're an alien. And that felt safe. So it's whatever you feel is safest. You follow the rule or you don't. Um, so that was. Sorry, I had to disconnect my phone. So yeah, so that was just what I mean by like they were. It's just like a little shift in perspective. Just
Mm,
like a hey, silly,
it's
you just
gorgeous.
did a really good job of blending in, but you don't have to do that unless you want to.
No, the blending in allowed us invisibility. It didn't allow us safety of expression. In that invisibility, Ong Akasa, which we did a little bit in our initiation, it's the Hekau for invisibility. So if I'm ever doing like high level work or I need to not be seen, Ong Akasa, motherfuckers. Yeah, I know. I'm playing with things. I'll just say that. I'm playing with new things in the field.
I would say the other side of that is projections, which I know Destiny could jump in on. Destiny and I had a conversation about being a heretic in human design, which basically means if you put yourself out there, people see only, not only do they see what they want to see, but they throw it back in your face a lot sometimes, especially in a social media kind of way. And just that scary sort of balance you kind of contain in yourself. Um, and then it kept coming up, of course, right? That's what happens. Um, but that's the other side of this is like that when you were just talking, it's that like if I show myself, I'm like
I'll
opening
be
up to some,
persecuted. I'll be killed.
yeah,
I mean,
be
that's
persecuted.
very
Yes.
real in us genetically, soul genetics. Like we all, I mean, if you have not been burnt at the stake, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. That's like, and if you have fears of being burnt to the stake or any trauma around that, hey, would you go hang out with Kat and let that fire like lick you up and down until you dissolve into a Mercef? Like, that's some sexy ass fucking death right there. My memory, anyway. So watch for those places where the fear tightens and you now have the tools to expand. Oh, it's kind of what Third Eye is doing, right? It's this. Huh. Interesting. It's that aperture of how do you want to view and how do you want to engage with reality. I'll also say in that place of like, the tinge of persecution. I was telling Michael this yesterday, maybe probably Marilyn too. I kept having this phrase come in: awake, not woke. Awake, not woke. Awake, not woke. So I've created a podcast episode called Awake, Not Woke. And I've got just like a little bit of fear that people are going to be like, And I'm also like, I don't give a fuck. Because woke is a really sharp and punishing agenda. And I'm like, I'm awake. I'm not fucking
It's
woke.
become a tulpa, right?
I don't know what that word means. What?
Oh, you directed me to the podcast where I learned
Oh,
it.
aren't I adorable? Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to spell it. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. They're these thought forms that become their own sort of like demons.
Great. We need
So-
Ashleen to jump in here because, egregore is the other word that we'll use that Chronic Gals turned me on to. Ashleen, if you want to talk, you can. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, I'm just not sure exactly what you want said about it. More than that's what it is. Like it's a thought form that has become. People have given it so much energy that it's become a thing. Like Santa Claus is an egregore, right? Because how else does Santa deliver presents around the world in a single night than by being the thought form and using parents as the vehicle to bring the spirit of Christmas to children all around the world?
So what we're experiencing right now, my view, they want to divide us. They've created a pretty fucking good egregore of fear right now with a decision that's not really, wow, we just created a whole bunch of hate and fear, didn't we? And directed it. What I wrote down yesterday was it weaponized the feminine, this action. And I'm like, this is not good. Not that the decision isn't good, the response to it not good. Like, fucking hold your shit, bitches. We got this. Like, do you think we do not know how to get rid of babies without doctors? Are you fucking kidding me? Grr. Hello, women feminine, we get to come back with our own wisdom because we had ways way before these little door quads with vacuums went into our vaginas. You fucking kidding me? Grr. Sekhmet. What an interesting time for Sekhmet to come online. Oh, me, oh, my. As a woman who has had 2 abortions and 1 abortion that required no doctors because I know old medicines. Cool. So watch for the egregores that are being created is what I want to say now. I watch for where they want to draw your attention and steal your empathy.
I hadn't even thought about the invitation back to the older medicines, but it's funny because I'm watching Outlander right now. And first of all, if you've never watched it, oh, Jamie. But in that, like just recently in the show, I was watching where she helped a woman get an abortion through purely like plant medicine. So that makes so much sense. I hadn't even thought about that, but like the revival of the natural feminine woman.
Yep.
and that medicine and that wisdom. That's so hadn't even thought about that. Thanks.
Well, and in that place of not even thinking about it, what I recognize with third eye is like a swivel of like, it's the kaleidoscope of like, I can take this perception on reality or this one or this one or this one or this one. But if they want us all directed at that, no, hold on. Let me swivel over here, and pivot in that way to see what else could be going on. Awake, not woke. And I'm also saying that thing about awake, not woke, in case any of you guys are disappointed in me and or surprised and or are offended. I'm giving you first heads up.
I bought Jordan a t-shirt actually that said that.
Great. Okay, so it's not totally original.
It's not just you. No, it's not just you.
Yeah, as I'm speaking now and even like having some I guess this podcast was kind of what's required of me through this process of dream school. Speaking, not being scared of being seen and having a fucking opinion because it's my opinion. It's not a directive of any sort. It's the fucking sovereignty to turn off the podcast if you're bothered by it. It's cool.
I'm very happy you recorded an episode.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, somebody sent me a message last week and they're like, I really missed the podcast, but I know you're in dream school. And I'm like, yeah, we're in dream school. We're doing other shit. Anyone have any experiences with Sekhmet that are surprising them, or maybe Bastet or Bost? Hey, Gwen, hey.
I had a little one. Hey, it wasn't like super deep or anything, but my mediumship has been like exploding through this whole thing. And I've been working with Jamie, and I had our like last session over the weekend, last weekend, and like this round of one-on-ones we've been doing. And she like showed up for the first time. I've never connected with Sekhmet, but I was just kind of like channeling, just practicing, doing some like energy updates, stuff like that, like timeline work. And yeah, she like came in really clearly, and I was like confused at first. I was like, really? Okay, cool. Like, what's up? Hey, how you doing? But yeah, it was nice. I don't know. That was it. She just kind of was hanging out, like nothing really, more like a supporting role, I wanted to say, kind of felt like very supportive. But yeah, it was cool. I've never had any like intimate moments with Sekhmet, so it was nice to do
Gwen,
that.
would you tell us? I find mediumship to, I don't know what mediumship means.
Like working with the dead.
Okay, so it does go dead specific?
Yeah, at least in that sense, because I have no issue like doing like galactic mediumship. Like that was always cool, but working with like people who have passed always kind of freaked me out, just because I'm a little jumpy in general. So I was like, I don't want to tap into that. And I had some bad experiences at first doing it.
Well,
but it's been
like galactic, you're tapping in this way, but if you're doing this way, it is totally different and totally different rules of engagement then. Is that right? Okay.
it feels different. Yeah, it feels different for me at least.
Oh, there's karma in it. There's ka in it. It's stickier. It's harder to work through. It's not as clean. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good way to put it. But I was resisting it for a really long time, just had no interest in it, did not want to do it. And I've been like getting pulled. Like at this point, it's not my choice. So like, you have to do this. And it's been insane how fast it's opening up. But I definitely feel like the initiation we did helped clarify a lot of my like vision, quote unquote, with it. I like met a new friend. He like showed up. It was weird. I got like pulled to this place in the park I had never been to for my session, and did this whole thing. But I also bring this up because I'm in the mountains right now. I'm in Asheville. And last night I just could tell, like, we're on Cherokee land. It's a very old history, in the Blue Ridge Mountains here. And it just felt weird. I'm like trying to go to sleep. I couldn't fall asleep. It was very unsettling type of feeling, but it was nice being able to like, one, like tap into my personal power and set up some boundaries, but like also like close it. I was like, I want to sleep, please.
I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah. So like if all y'all hanging out around our house could just like kindly back up a lot.
Did you like, for me, any spirits who approach, like they aren't allowed to come into my house. There's very clear rules. And so I usually have
Yeah.
like set up in like a lodge type of situation off my property. You're doing
They
that,
were
right?
literally, it felt like they definitely not in the house, but they were like around the house. And I was like, cool. Like, glad you're here. I know I'm like in your space, but get the fuck away from me. I'm trying to go to sleep. Like, can we please like just have some time? And if I feel good, maybe tomorrow I'll see who wants to come say hey and like fuck around and find out. But yeah, it's nice just like being able to tap into your personal power and be like, okay, please leave. I'm closing the door and I'm going to sleep and we'll just chat tomorrow. But yeah, so it was a great meeting with Sekhmet. I think she really supported me through that session and practicing. Especially when I have a little ghost friend now. His name is Andrew, and he was 8 when he passed away, and he's here to help me with grid work. So she kind of like helped, I think, facilitate that meeting, because it kind of happened by chance, but it was
kid
nice.
ghosts are also the creepiest, aren't, at least to me, like kid ghosts. I'm always like, ugh.
Well, he was really sweet. Okay. And I'm still working on, it's like the faucet has really fast water pressure. Like when I open it, it's like, bam, they're right there. There's no hesitation. So I think I'm still working on easing them into my field.
Okay. One of my other tricks, if I would be doing like a seance, I'm like single file over there, because like all of you guys around me, like it's too much, and I'm like,
I'm freaked out.
Shut out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was nice. She was really supportive, and it was a really gentle energy, kind of what it was like when we went through the initiation. For me, I know we talked about she was very motherly in that sense. And she did, like, I was not having a good time last Wednesday. I just like was feeling very depressed, very heavy. It was like clearly I had a feeling of what was coming, I guess, down the road. And she just like gave me a big hug, just like let me like release. So it was nice to have that additional support while I'm like expanding these weird ass gifts.
Out of curiosity, Gwen, what exactly are they? Sometimes there's specific things, but are there specific things that they're requesting right now that kind of like run along the same vein?
Who?
Meaning like the dead. Yep.
Well, like I said, I've been resisting, so I'm not super fully interacting with them on that level yet. But when Andrew showed up, he was like showing me how to direct the energy to the earth. He was like, no, do it like this, like showing me hand placements, showing me movements. So he was very like, kind of like a partner, like, you're here to help me. Like, that's why you're in this spot. That's why you came here. But yeah, no, I haven't really engaged in too deep of conversation yet. I had someone in France when we were in France who also was like moving shit around in our Airbnb, and I was like, can you not, please? So it's been interesting.
I'm sure. Yeah, and good tools. Dina left me a message. Dina's also given permission that if she's not here, I can share anything. And she's like, you know, the aperture is kind of like an anus, right, Andy? I was like, oh, yeah, I guess. I guess it is. I don't know that I've seen mine that way, but...
Yeah, I feel like mine's like a little hobbit door, but, you know, I guess anus works, too.
I know, it's so good. An anus. Huh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I called on Sekhmet the other week. So I'm in Wales at the moment on a school trip, which, oh my God, Wales, the dragons everywhere. Yeah. I was talking to a dragon earlier, actually. I'll come back to that one. Sekhmet. So driving here, I was really panicking about the drive because I had to drive behind the minibus. We had a minibus full of kids, and then I was driving separately because we were camping. And I was really nervous about the drive. Main reason I was really nervous, I'm going to share this news now, is I'm 11 weeks pregnant currently. So that happened literally right in Ganusa, which, talk about timing. Obviously, all that release and crying I did its job. And finally got pregnant. So yeah, but I've been shattered like all the time, like so tired. So I was really worried about doing this drive. And partway through the drive, I just suddenly thought, oh, Sekhmet will help. So I called on her straight away. She came in, and I was listening to some easy hits, and she was like, well, this is not going to do. We need something a bit better than this. Like, she sort of suggested the Greatest Showman soundtrack. We put that on, the first song. There's a bloody great growl, isn't there, from a lion? And I thought, yep, she's here. And it was like she took over the driving and everything. I saw my hands as paws, and I could just completely relax. And I'd been thinking, because I'd set off a little bit after the minibus, and I was like, oh, I really want to try and catch up with them. I feel so much nicer if I can see the minibus in front. Within seconds of her coming in the distance, I could just see the minibus, and I was like, oh, thank you, Sekhmet. Like, she just sorted me out, and I was completely relaxed the whole rest of the journey, completely fine, had loads of energy that I just haven't had, and was able to get all the way to Wales, which is like a 7-hour journey. So she was there for that, which was pretty cool.
Congratulations, because I know Wendy reached out to me a little bit earlier about it all, but like you guys not knowing where I'm like, to have a baby that comes through the Dream School portal, I'm like, wow, can't wait to meet, know, and love that being. So, Wendy, thanks for sharing with us. And really fucking cool that Sekhmet comes in that way, because yeah, like she's pure energy. She's got it all. She can do that. Oh, cosmic mama. Isn't that true, Gwen? Mm-hmm.
Also, I just connected the dots on something that I'm going to share really quick and then I'm done. But before Dream School started, maybe it was like the 3, 4, maybe 5 months before, I kept getting directed to work with Big Cat energy, and I didn't know why. And now I'm like,
she, yeah, you can't just like pass on Sekhmet when she shows up. She like
this shit got me fucked up. You know what's gonna happen when you're just the dots connecting? Like, what? So I'm just having a moment. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah,
now.
you can have, but like they claim us in some ways, right? Isis may claim you, Hathor may claim you, and it's not the ownership of, it's the recognition that you're priestess with the wisdom and the lineage of. So when Sekhmet shows up, yeah, you don't, you don't put her on the back burner on pause. Pause, get it? Ha ha. She comes with gifts. And I think recognizing for all of us, whichever netters are presenting themselves in whatever form they're taking, nothing's here to fuck with you. It's here to bring you back to something that is innately you and will allow it all to flow better. Yeah.
I talk about the dragons.
Please, yes.
So there's literally been dragons everywhere, and then today I decided to sort of play with it because I was driving around and I was like, show me some more dragons today. And we went up to this sort of old castle. We sort of took a little walk, and some of the others went up to the castle, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna sit here on this rock. And I placed my hands on the rock and I just sort of like tuned in a little bit, sent my energy down, and then this dragon came up and started talking. And what was he called? It was called Kragan. Kragan was the dragon, which sounds really Welsh as well. Welsh dragon is drag. And I've literally seen the word drag everywhere as well. So this dragon, or drag, Kragan, came in today and kind of said they're in hiding. So he said, we're very much not gone, still very much here and present, but we had to go underground. And he said, we're all underground. But he said, we're still here and we're waiting for the moment to rise up again. But then made it very clear that day is not today. But it's like, we're here dormant. And I was like, cool, really cool. And then I got disturbed and lost the connection, but it was cool having a little conversation with Kragan for a bit.
I'll add to that, which is last time I was in Ireland, oh, that's cute. I'm staring at something that has dragons on it right now. Of course, that's how this goes. But all that I wanted to do was get underground, like as quick as possible. I'm like, I don't need to be above ground. I was in the Boran, which is already pretty barren in that way. And I'm like, I need to get underground because that was where everything would happen. But the dragons, for anyone who's working with grids, it's the same energy. Duh. Because the pathways of the dragon is what created the grids and the energetic frequencies. And if that's really calling to you, Thoth is the only one you should be working with. Our homeboy Thoth, or Jehudi, however you work with him, he'll show you. That's cute.
But Faith works for me a lot actually. He's been around a lot recently since I got pregnant, especially. He's very interested in this being that's come through, which is really cool. Oh, and during the initiation, when you said about the egg, first thing I saw when I sort of looked into the egg, I think when you said like study the egg or look into the egg, was the like dragon's head in there, and the gold flecks were flames coming from the dragon.
Wendy, that's a whole nother level of access that you just tapped into that some of us were like, fuck yeah, we know what that is. Cool. Congratulations. It's all right. Yep. You just let them keep showing you. Yeah. You want to go there? We can go there. Okay, let's go there. Akasa, shall we? Oh, excuse me, sweaty over here. 100 degrees out. Akasa is known as the snakes of Isis. The Akasa. Each time this energy of your Jed crosses at one of these points of your Shenkas, a gateway is open to creation. That gateway where the Akasa flows from you that creates reality. Because creating and dreaming in a new earth was what we were asked to do here. Creating heaven on earth. Akasa is the snakes. Snakes and dragons, same energy. So Wendy, yeah, thank you for not only being gatekeeper for us, but just scratching the surface on it a little bit. Because the ultimate aim is to cleanse and activate each of these temples, as we have been doing, so that the Akasa that comes from each of these places is fucking pure. And the universe is like, oh yeah, I'll take those orders. Because if you're muddy in it, or if you don't know how, Override won't recognize there's no power behind it. We've been in a process of gaining power. And that power can't ever come from ego, because we have seen what that does in this world. The power is from another source, outside of this world, in order to create something new.
So this is reminding me of an experience that I had during the third eye initiation. So the saw snakes, right, are rising energies. This is what we've learned, and they go up, and it's the caduceus, like in the medical field. Well, I had an experience where I had one snake going up, and then it swallowed the tail of the other, and the other's head went down to swallow the tail of the other snake on the bottom, where they're still like twisting and making this double helix, but they're also swallowing each other into like one circuit, which I know is a very like a common mythological tale in a lot of different cultures, is this the snake that eats its own tail. So I don't know like where it all fits, but I don't know. It feels like bringing things back down to earth, anchoring in new heavenly frequencies, being, you know, that divine child of both being of earth and spirit. I don't know.
There's this symbol that I've been drawing. Fuck, and as soon as I try to do it, I can't do it. Shisahat has always called it her symbol. And there's a specific breath that goes with it. And I'll just say this, like, I don't have answers right now. All I'm saying is, like, through third eye, like, there are other things that are coming in where I'm like, like, mysteries are just, like, bubbling forward that I don't have answers for or knowledge of. Except this specific symbol that she did, Magenta Pixie. I watched her video recently, and she had the same symbol on it, and I was like, oh shit, okay, we're tapping. So in the same way, Wendy, like, we're tapping into things that we don't know. The mysteries are being opened. You don't need to have answers. You don't need to solve the riddle. You just get to say yes to this sacred invitation to remember something that hasn't all the way shown itself or been revealed yet. Because this is your medicine. This is your magic. This is what you bring forward in the world. Which is uniquely yours. and why you're here and what you need to remember. And that thing that as you begin remembering it, as you saw with Wendy, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, yeah, this feels really good. It feels uncomfortable because it requires that we see the world different or engage differently. But ultimately, as you continue walking through this, it feels good. If it doesn't, you let me know, because there could be other energies that are fucking with you, because sometimes that happens too. When a being of great power begins to birth oneself, there are all kinds of energies who are like, I want that and that and that. We can talk about entities. We can talk about curses. All that shit, quite literally, may show up in your field. Because you are a being of great power who's starting to remember. And I can remember before, which activation was it? So 2008, I was going through the mystery school with Margie. I went to, I think it was Third Eye that we had just done before I had gotten to Crown. And there was a being who quite literally came into my reality trying to steal my powers before I turned it back on in Crown. That's scary shit because you don't believe that it exists. And whenever it shows up, you're like, oh, geez, oh, fuck. That may very well show up for you here now. The things you don't want to think exist? Yeah. Max, you okay with that? I see a little growly face. Okay, just checking. And this is your initiation too, my love. Like none of this, again, nothing is against you, but if you don't know that there are little beings out there, little gremlins who are trying to steal your fucking powers, you should probably know that. And back the fuck up, because you may not. This is mine. I'm going to use this so good. And not giving them any more power than that to do anything to you. Because if they had fucking bodies, then they could do something. They don't. All they can do is affect you mentally. Thanks. And you've got some pretty good fucking allies, don't you? You have something like that shows up, I'd get Sekhmet in there right away. Go to town, girl. Permission to feast on all of these things that fuck with me. Anybody had weird shit show up that you want to talk about?
No, but I want to share something. I'm not gonna turn the camera on because
You don't need I don't need a reason. I love you, Marilyn.
All right. So first I'm going to read this. This is a post that I have to, it was a channeled post, and then I'll kind of explain. So it's, as I sit here watching major timelines reordering, I see the front lines thinning out yet again. It's the same reason it always thins, somehow the same control mechanisms that have been used successfully for too many decades to count are being employed yet again. They tug at the root chakra, destabilizing any sense of safety and groundedness, triggering all sorts of trauma responses as if we were physically fighting for our lives. We then find ourselves spiraling in a narrative, never fully understanding the details, just what we are told. And with precision, we are even able to utter the same talking points we've had drilled into our minds. It's how we've done things in the past and how many of us continue to move forward. But what if we could pivot? What if after the reaction, we could take advantage of the pause and just pivot? What if we decided that we would find our still point in this now moment and sit in the heart and ask for truth? Could we even ask for spirit-led guidance? What if that was the one question you finally needed to ask to tip you towards an even further soul expansion? What if you could finally deepen your gnosis of what we not only see, but the things that remain hidden? There is freedom in constantly questioning the narratives. There is freedom in lateral and critical thinking. There is freedom in marrying the mind with our intuition to see the level of deception that we are spoon-fed on the daily by the sum of the greatest masters of illusion on this planet. Will you then start to slip into that parallel reality you have been calling in for so long? Or will you play in someone else's shadow, never quite knowing the difference between yours and theirs in this lifetime. You talked about the third eye being like the swivel, and it is a scope, and it allows you to see the many facets of reality that we sit in. But you have to ask. But if you're playing around, reacting to everything that's thrown your way, quite literally, you cannot see. You won't get what you're asking for. And that's, I think, part of the issue that we keep running into over and over and over again. Because I tell you, every time I literally go and I check the front constantly, and each and every time there's like a major event, it thins out. I'm like, fuck, here we are again. And so I'm just, this is an opportunity with the third eye to start to tap into those different perspectives and ask for truth and get to truth, because you will be shown the truth, but you better be ready for it, because it's not always pretty. So that's, my 2 cents on third eye.
That wasn't 2 cents. That's an On Maryland saw, motherfuckers. Thank you for bringing that through and sharing it with us. Because it is, and like, what a good point. You have to ask. And there are so many people who are scared to ask or aren't asking, who are just like,
So
Go ahead.
I've been playing with third eye like a visor. That okay, this is silly, but it's like Iron Man, where he has control of his entire computer, and Jarvis, like, he is just right here in his view. He has to command Jarvis and tell Jarvis what he wants. Like, we have to command the universe and tell the universe what we want to see through our visor. But the third eye directs, it like narrows down this massive field of energy and possibility that we're in, so we can see what we want or need to see. But yeah, if you're letting, like what Marilyn's talking about, if you're letting all of this dissonance around you dictate what is in your viewfinder, you're never going to get to your truth, because you're letting somebody else direct Jarvis.
Well, and you're also looking outside instead of looking in, right?
Right.
Like, we have to keep coming back to that as well. Even when that truth challenges who we thought we were. Because that's where this shit gets really uncomfortable. Jarvis. Ashleen. So good.
So I just finished a 2-year pretty intense priestess mystery program. And as I'm working through this course as well, the Dream School, I've had to kind of intentionally close down my third eye for a period of time, because since I finished my priestess initiation, and as I'm going through this, so many things have been happening in my world that for the time being, I'm kind of feeling like a little bit overwhelmed with it. I knew that was probably going to happen as I got deeper into these mysteries, but I need to kind of like re-center myself at times, because there's so much information coming through. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Is setting the Jed helping with that, Michelle?
Yeah, it is. And I do that pretty consciously when things arise. But there are times, like, especially right before I fall asleep, where I'm just like in that weird state of mind, and I have to just kind of close it down so that I can sleep. Kind of like what Gwen was saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell them speed too. Like, go slow, go gentle.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything we can do to support you?
Oh no, I think it's just more like getting used to all the information coming through. My my priestess, the lady that led us through the initiation through this 2-year mystery priestess course, she told us that this was probably going to happen, and she gave us tools to kind of help with that, because that's what she had gone through when she went through the initiation. But I think because I'm going through the dream school as well, it's been extra intense for me.
Double whammy.
But it's actually most of the time, like during the day, it's really neat that I get all these different entities around me and teaching me and all this stuff. But it's more at night where I'm like, okay, calm down, so that I can, exactly what Gwen was saying earlier, like I need to be able to rest, and I need, like, I still have a human body, and I need to be able to feed my human body what it needs, and part of that is rest. So
Yeah, there's no end to the awakening. There's no end game in that. Like, illusions keep just fucking bursting in front of you, and the nature of reality isn't static, right? That's kind of what we've been talking about since the very beginning. Like, reality isn't real. And so as those things break away and you have these new awarenesses and new gifts and new beings, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, it's massive. And how does one navigate through this? And I also want to celebrate your courage. Yeah, my internet slowed down a little bit. Is it back and better yet? You can just hear me now. Great. Celebrate the courage that you have going through this, please. Because in that same way that Marilyn said, you're asking for truth. You're asking to be creator and not robot in. Yeah, that have to ask.
that kind of plays off of what Michael was saying earlier too, about the world is like trying to like create all these guidelines for humans to follow, but what about the people like us that they don't, like, I don't want to follow those things unless they feel good to me. So how do you do that and also stay like safe? And there isn't really an answer to that right now, but I really resonated with what Michael was saying earlier about being on the subway, and like I still have a human body, and that human body wants to be safe, but then like everything that my consciousness is telling me to do is going against what is basically keeping us, like, quote unquote safe, I guess, worldly safe. So I really resonated with what he was saying earlier as well.
And I love that as a query, Michelle, of like, what is safety even in that way?
Right.
And so as I play with this idea of like, what do I, the safe versus comfort, I think is kind of what showed up a little bit in Third Eye as well. And then there's also, that social aspect of it too, of like, I don't want to be confrontational. I don't want to be an asshole to anyone. And yet, can I make choices for myself that are for my own safety without other people thinking that I'm doing it to be confrontational or asshole? We're in really, I think the times that we're in are very dicey. And I think by the mere fact of that also shows us that we're approaching a threshold where it's all changing.
Yeah.
And we're the ones, I read a young adult fantasy novel the other day that was perfectly fucking delicious and bubblegum in every way. And I was so irritated by the goddamn dynamics of like, will they, won't they? Like, his lips brushed against mine and I freaked out and I ran away. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, are we still telling this story? And I very clearly heard them come through with like, you're the ones who are here to tell new stories. I'll find the name of the book, Gwen. It was really good. The Hotel Magnifique. It was all, like, it ended up being all about Shisahat, which I should have known, but I could read between the lines there. I keep getting a notification that my internet is unstable, so we'll just deal with it and It's okay. If it ever freezes where you can't hear me at all, somebody let me know. You're here to write a new story. That's all. Yeah, as Destiny comes on. Destiny, you want to talk to us about Destiny and new stories? That's great.
Yeah, I could share. But first, I just wanted to say, in response to Michelle, like what you had just talked about with the whole like not wanting to conform and wanting to do what you want to do, but also remain safe. Like, obviously, the last 2 years, like I had to deal with a lot of that, like everybody did. And a lot of what was coming up for me during that was kind of understanding that we're like how it feels to me in my reality anyway, is that we're through these trials and challenges and rules and regulations. We are being given the opportunity to decide what our specific unique values are and what our own rule book for our life is. And also in the same vein, like what we are willing, like kind of like the pick and choose your battles. Like, are there some things that technically are a rule or technically are things that, you know, people do across the board that we want to rebel against just for the sake of rebelling against, when in all reality, like we really could kind of like that doesn't really mean much, right? That doesn't really hamper my sense of freedom, my sense of individuality, my safety, like those kinds of things. Like there's kind of like the pick and choose of the battles. But then on the other side of it, I think that what I have felt is that there has been a big initiation and invitation into like holding strong on those values that, you know, are like, no, I'm not going to fucking do this, because there literally is no reason for it other than the flip reason of like, you want to fucking muzzle me or you want to hurt my health, right? There are certain things that like I feel like we absolutely have to say like a fucking hard no to, because we see, like talking about the third eye, we see the intention behind it. And so when we see the intention behind certain things and we know like every fiber of our being is like, no, that is fucking wrong, then those are the ways in which I feel like the universe is kind of giving us this opportunity to stand our ground, to draw the line in the sand. And when we do that, I know at least I've experienced being helped more, being taken care of more, being kept safe more in those ways where like maybe it is that invisibility, maybe it's like they just don't see you, right? Or whatever it is. But I do feel like there are ways in which we are being very intentionally pushed to trust, to stand up for our boundaries. Like, I mean, how the fuck are we going to create a new world if we can't say no to the old one, right? So like there's been that. So like I just want to invite you into like, some of this could be like a level of like standing in my fucking power, like standing in my priestess power, being like, hell no, I'm not going to do this thing. And I trust and also am literally inviting in more safety, more protection from this thing, because this is not the reality that I want to live in. And I've experienced some of that. So I think that there can be that like back and forth, like the give and take of like, okay, what do I just like play? Like what Michael was talking about, like, do I just play the little game to blend in because like, this is really not that big a deal. I don't want to have to deal with this right now. Like, it's fine. Or fuck no, I'm standing my ground. This is absolutely not going to stand. And I know I will be protected in it.
I'm just going to thank you so much for saying that, Destiny, because you absolutely are protected in it, because I don't play the game at all.
Now, can I just give a great Maryland story of like while lockdown was going on? I don't think it was lockdown, but at one point I remember Maryland going somewhere, not wearing a mask, and somebody's like, ma'am, do you have a mask? And she's like, no, I don't, and kept walking. And like, to me, like just hearing that story where like it wasn't confrontational, it wasn't asshole, it was like so much in your sovereignty that like nobody can really, you just move.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because when you're standing in that, then it's like, you know, if you supposedly you don't belong somewhere, but if you act as if like this is normal and I belong, no one's going to ask you a question, and you are protected and you are safe. And it's just like, oh, so I just don't play the games. I don't, and I don't want to play those games, because it's then you're like slipping back and forth into these different realities. And I feel, to Destiny's point, I feel like we are starting to slip into those parallel realities where, you know, I can do this and there is no more confrontation now. Like it's just not a thing. It's really interesting. So it's the other side of it. That's all I'll say.
And I love this view of it too, because you will be protected. What they want is the masses. They want most people, which they've already got. They are not going to go chasing you down because you have superpowers. They don't think your superpowers exist. They think they're more powerful. They aren't really paying attention to you.
Oh, and by the way, you want to know what's really interesting about superpowers? So before I quit my job, I remember going to my doctor. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, everything was just done and checked, and if I had to work on anything energetically. It was the first time they asked me a ton of questions about, do you believe you have superpowers?
At a
Do you
doctor?
believe, yeah, these are now the questions. I think, and I don't think it's the doctors. I don't know who's filtering these databases with these questions. It's because they are well aware that people are coming online.
Hmm.
And I was just like, wait, what did you ask me?
Wow.
And it was a series of
Wow.
questions like that. And I was really, really surprised. And I think that was back in December or January. So it was really
that-
interesting. No, it's not a company doctor. It was just a
Was
primary.
it Mind Bloom?
What's that?
Was it Mind Bloom?
No, this
The
was
ketamine?
just
Oh, okay.
like
I
my
did Mind
primary.
Bloom, and they did a questionnaire. It's the ketamine treatment, and they did a questionnaire, and they asked those kinds of questions too. It was really weird.
That's why I said I think it's like the overarching, whoever feeds the doctors these sorts of questions. It's way past the doctors, obviously. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Also, I think, you know, none of it is real. I think when you remember that, it really doesn't matter what you do or say and what people think of you, because it's not real. It doesn't matter what they think because it's not real.
Well, and it's all their
I think
perceptions,
once I
right?
realised that, yeah, meaning only exists if you perceive it. So don't perceive it. Don't take the meaning.
Thank you, Wendy. Well, and recognizing that everybody's living in filters and perceptions. And so those of us who are not, they don't see us, which is why Destiny was saying, like, there's a safety in it. I don't know if you could read that, Wendy, but Robin just said, can you just talk all day, Wendy? Yep. You're driving, so I'm trying to make sure that you're not reading while you're driving, FYI. They're all living in some version of illusion, whether, you know, what are the steps that most people will take to come to this level of self-awareness? Well, it's scary and it's hard, so most people won't. So they won't recognize those of us who really are. They don't think it exists. And in that, we are safe. Also, as Marilyn was talking, Shisahat just came in. She's like, as long as you're living in the mystery, you're also partially veiled. And think of that veil of the priestess. It's not to keep us hidden. It's to keep it like, nobody needs to see fucking all of me. I will choose who gets to see all of me and where that goes. But that's not a place of like punishment and shame. That veil was our choice. I mean, even that in some ways has gotten turned around right now of like, you're trying to hold me down. Nobody can fucking hold you down if you have sovereignty. Robin's message as all of this was going on, I put it on my Instagram because it was so good. And she's like, your sovereignty is like, can't be touched here. Perceptions and illusions in order to, yeah, you see through the agendas is maybe what will happen, and that's uncomfortable because it changes reality. Welcome to the nature of initiation. And if you're going through any program where you are not challenged at an ego level, you might as well just be masturbating into the fucking cosmos, because that's nothing. This is challenging. This is hard. I don't know what masturbation in the cosmos is. I'll try that later. That sounds awesome. But Yeah, Sarah, you might have had some experiences with that this week, huh? Woo, girl. Yeah, thanks. I really need to pee. Go ahead. So sorry. Go ahead, Destiny.
No, it's okay. Go pee.
Okay, great. I'm gonna do
Yes,
that.
I actually
I
need to
can
go pee
still
too.
hear because it's right over there. So yeah, y'all. Share, sister.
Marilyn, what did you answer on the questionnaire? Are you supposed to answer that honestly?
What did I answer? I just said no to everything. It's none of their business.
Oh, okay. I definitely agree with that. But I mean, if somebody asked me, okay, so fuck a doctor. But if somebody else asked me that, do I answer them honestly?
Oh, I would answer honestly.
Yeah, I would say if there's anything that's reporting back.
Said no to the doctor
Well,
too.
also, but you know what? Also, I will say recently what came in for me though is you have to tell the truth. So all of that now is, so I'm standing at that point, in time, because even that gets interesting, right? And so, because what we're being asked is, so a lot of us are contracted to share specific sorts of information that can be offensive to specific groups, and it is what it is, and it's uncomfortable. And I've kind of just been sitting on a mountain of information, not sharing it because of that. But now they've been really clear. You have to just tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And I'll just have to get past that. That'll be another hurdle. And it is what it's one of those things where it is what it is.
Well, you're. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I'm freaking out over here a little bit because I agreed to do a talk in about an hour. And I was calling on the rain earlier to help me get out of it. And now the sun's out. So
Why'd you want to get out of it?
so that's what I'm sitting in over here, and I'm thinking what Marilyn's saying, and I'm like, well, what's the truth here? You know the truth. I don't want to go to this event. I'm afraid that let me not say that. I'm feeling really vulnerable. And then while over the past 10 minutes, I just got a message. My friend from Chicago, my unawake friend from Chicago is in town and just invited me to go over there and like eat pizza and go in the pool. And I don't want to do any of these things.
Then your truth is you say no.
So I can say no to the friends, but I feel like this event, I'm like, huh. Because I agreed to do it. So Destiny knows I have a really active heart in human design. So like I agreed to do this. So there's part of me that will fucking drag my corpse there.
What is it that you're supposed to be talking about?
30 minutes on product healing. So I have it all set.
Does it feel misaligned?
Basically, I was psychically attacked from someone who I'm pretty sure is going to be there. So, and she is one of the people that started this event. And then Andy, earlier today, I found her business cards in my bag. So I like went outside and I burned them, did some stuff. A salt lamp she gave me that I like worked on. It was just like in a puddle again on my desk today. So that's outside now by the garbage. I guess I don't think I need to put myself through this.
I don't think you need to
Cancel. Fuck
Yeah.
that. Oh, sorry. I had to say cancel on that bitch.
Right?
Oh no. Baby.
She's not the one that asked though. That's the only problem. It's like a
Michael,
little more convoluted.
I think you have enough
But,
going on that if you tell anybody today is not the day that works, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. I just needed that.
Yeah, no, you're true.
I'm like, it's a no, right? That's what this is all telling me, right? It's a fucking no. Like, and I don't need it to thunderstorm to say no.
There you go. That's where you're at. You don't need a thunderstorm to get you out of this. You just get to say, this doesn't feel right today.
Yeah.
And I kind
Beautiful.
of love that
That
too,
is the
because your
truth.
teaching is that.
Thank you, Mimi.
Your teaching is not that you have to fucking show up because you're expected to.
Because I'm so sick of making excuses, because that's my fucking conditioning. Okay.
And anything that this woman is involved in is somehow going to
Thank
be
you, Marilyn.
by her. Don't have to.
And I just lovingly remind you, Michael Maddie, that your EQ is in the gate 40, which is the power of saying no, and to communities that don't feel good and to people who don't feel good. So maybe speak the truth of your heart and say no.
And nobody's not going to love you for, like, wherever that is too. We love you in your no.
It'll probably feel really good too. I love saying no to shit that doesn't feel good. Oh my God. Even if I made the plan, going back and be like, oh, yeah, just kidding. It feels so good. Something about just like honoring your body and your energy. Like, it's not about them, it's about you.
And
I'll
if
just
they
be
don't
over
like
here
it,
saying no on my phone.
Yeah, and if they don't like it, you're not responsible for that. They can suck it. I mean, you're just not responsible for that.
They can suck it.
And if anything, it's validation for you saying no.
Woo!
So there should be acceptance with your boundaries. Yeah.
No. Congratulations. This is big. And I love how we got to experience this today. Like, we don't know what fucking form the initiation will take. But if there's discomfort, you can guess that it's an initiation.
So I'd like to share my stories.
Mm-hmm.
So the first cool thing that happened the day of our initiation, actually, before we got on the call.
And I'm also just going to say, for the sake of time, sorry to interrupt, Destiny. Like, I want to make sure we get to this, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time after the Akasa. So let's do like 5 minutes and then go into that, pretty please. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that happened actually the day of our initiation last week was really cool of me and Michael just connecting and realizing that in our heresy, in our human design knowledge, we both have been utilizing charts that are not commonly used and are quite heretical in nature in the space right now. And for me, that was actually like why that was so important and potent was because this has been information, like a truth, like of my own reality that I've been sitting on for over a year, about a year and a half. And it's what has lost me a friend and like all that kind of shit. So it was like really amazing that like the day of the third eye initiation, the universe was like, hey, you're not fucking crazy. There's somebody else out there that's working with these things that you thought nobody could be potentially working with. No way. Oh, you found them. So that was really cool. And really, a lot of what's happened over the last 2 weeks has been actually a lot of validation around my knowing and around my intuition and the way in which I perceive things. Because then the next thing that happened was in the reflector groups, people started talking about Teal Swan and this new docu-series that got done about her on Hulu. And I've followed her for
There's a
many
new
years.
documentary about her. What?
So it's not actually a documentary. It is a entertainment TV show that is meant to completely smear her, and yeah, it's called The Deep End, and make you think that she's this like evil fucking cult leader. So I heard about this, so I go and watch it. And when I first watched it, like the first initial episode, I'm getting so excited because like one of the reasons why I love watching her is because the work that I'm able to do with people is so similar to what she does. And so it's been really validating to just watch her process and like watch her talk to people and like all intuit the same thing before she says it. And so it's like, it's been really cool. So I saw this documentary And I'm not gonna lie, like the third episode, like they fucking got me. Like my heart was pounding. I was like, oh no, like has my intuition about her been off this whole time? And so, no, absolutely not. And so I was like, okay. So then I start talking to a friend of mine about it who has the same incarnation cross as her and is a reflector. Cause I'm like, I want to know what your view of this is. And I was like, because I can see her design just being so incredibly beautifully lived out right now. Like it's so fucking perfect. So we had this conversation. She sends me a video of Teal's response to this show. And I watch it and I'm like, oh fuck. Okay. Like, girl, you are telling the fucking truth. I can feel the difference between her truth as she's saying it and then the truth that the reality of the directors that everybody painted. So long story short, I basically ended up, I was going to go and like sign up for her premium account again so I could watch more of her things. And I saw that she had a workshop coming up in LA. And so I was like, okay. So I went and looked, ended up buying tickets, ended up going out to LA because specifically I was like, I've wanted to go to one of these for so long, but now that this is out and I saw so many people in the reflector group too, like being tricked by this thing. And I was like, no, like I'm gonna, like my third line is like, I need to go experience this in person so I know for sure. So I went and it was exactly like I had always experienced her. Like she was nowhere near like this docu-series portrayed her. And the cool thing about it was like at the end of it, I went home and like I had some kind of medicine experience happen during it in a way. But I got home and I realized two things. One, I picked up on the energy of LA, and holy shit, the energy of specifically LA, it was dark as fuck. It was like people were walking around like talking about third eye, like I was able to feel and understand that it's like the people in LA, they were like zombies. It's like they were there, but internally you could feel their energy being sucked off of them. It's like there was a false reality overlaid in that city with those people. And they were all kind of like living in that reality. Yet you could tell that it was false. And you can tell that while they were doing that, there was like energy being sucked off of them, which was really strange. But after I got home and processed the event, one of like the biggest ahas for me was actually just finally getting to the place where I fully recognized and admitted my spiritual authority in like understanding that, yeah, I don't have all of the same level of powers that this woman does, but the way in which she helps people and the things that she knows and taps into and will tell people and it blows their mind. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's something that I've already downloaded. I've already had that experience. Or just realizing for me that like, because a lot of the issues that I've come across in my work with my literal like core wound being like able to see the truth of reality is that I have dimmed myself down so much because it felt egoic and wrong to really kind of like own my spiritual authority and my spiritual power. But then just objectively being like, okay, but hold on. The vast majority of the population is asleep. So even just mathematically speaking, you are objectively at a higher spiritual level than the vast majority of humans. And there's nothing, just objectively, there's nothing to feel bad about that. And then, but to also on top of it, get to the place where I'm like, and even beyond that, I can be okay being proud about the abilities that I have and the intuition that I have and the gifts that I have and the ability to help people. And so it was like this really cool, just like initiation. And then like to wrap all of that up, the whole entire time, like I was C-class boarding, I thought about upgrading, but I was just like, no, it's fine. So I get on the plane and I'm literally like one of the last people to get on the plane. And I got a front row seat because of course, like nobody wants to sit in between in the front row. Both times on the plane, I got front row seating. I walk out and immediately there's where my shuttle station is. And I thought I was going to have to go and try to find somebody to find it. Like I was being taken care of every step of the way on this trip. And so it was like just so much recognition of me following my intuition, of following my gut, of and then also just having my view of reality and my gifts mirrored back to me, and like, you can trust these, you can own these, it's safe to do so. And especially because like I think I got so motivated to go to see in person after I watched that docuseries and could just see how people were talking about her, because I'm like, that's exactly what the fuck I'm afraid of. And she's living it at a level that like I will never even touch. So if she can do that, and she can be out there being so honest about her gifts, helping people, doing this, knowing she has a target on her back and still willingly putting herself in the line of fire, and I can see that I have so many of these same gifts and abilities, like, fuck, I can do it too.
And we're here as the way showers, right? She's first wave, and then the rest, like, nobody's got a model for this. And we're all scared that what's going to happen to her could happen to us. Fuck that. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
She needs other people in her wake, not,
Yeah. So that was really cool. And I was like, nothing really happened. Like nothing big happened to me with Third Eye. Like I didn't have any crazy downloads or this or that, but it was like, no, I was just given the perfect ability to have an external validation of me, like the fact that you do see reality correctly.
Yep.
And like that alone is huge.
Nothing's wrong with you and you don't need to fucking hide. That's a pretty good initiation from Third Eye. Because we've all kept it closed or silenced, right? And I'll also say, as these persecution fears, or as a fear of shows up for you, clear it through the Akashic, please. Clear it through your field, clear it through your lineage, because we've got generations of women who have been killed for doing what we love doing. So anytime that fear comes up, it's not just yours to like chew on, like, great, where does it live? How can I love it? Show it to me. Show it to me. Show it to me. Because you've got tools now. And what a heinous, weird thing that any documentary would go through the trouble of filming and being with her only to smear her. That's fucking gross.
The last thing I'll say, because that came up yesterday, I saw a video that she actually just released of these clips, of these video clips that people from the, like the director, the producer, a couple of the people on that team had sent her for her birthday. And they were all like, there was these loving videos of how much they loved her and how amazing she was and how much their work helped her. And I told Jordan, I said, God damn it, like this is another scenario, I think, is what's happening, of like what happened to me before COVID even hit, where I was like, this is modern day Nazi Germany. It's like me just perceiving something, and then hello, 2 years later, it got proven that that's exactly what was going on. When I went through the documentary, I said, because Jordan was like, how the fuck did she get deceived though? You know what I mean? Like knowing her gifts and abilities, like how could she get deceived? So when that video came out yesterday and I watched it, and I was like, this proves, I think, my point that I was going to, of, I don't think the people who were filming the documentary at the time had those intentions. I think they went into it, that the people that were like those that sent her those videos, the main people, I think they went into it with the intention that was true, of like, we're going to show you this hero's journey. And I think one of two things either happened. Either somebody came in at the very end and swooped it all up and twisted it around, or there was somebody higher up than them the whole entire time that knew, and they kept them in the dark, because otherwise she would have known.
Maybe.
Like, there would be no other way for you to hide that from her.
So what I will say, my experience, my lived experience, I've had sociopaths who I believed as clients, where they're lying to me and I believed them because they believed them. We can't see what might have been going on there with Teal, or why she couldn't see it, or even if it's in her soul contract to fucking do this and show us it's okay. Cool. There was one other piece. Thanks. And what I can take away from this conversation, Destiny, is like, yeah, you can't fucking trust anybody in Hollywood. Like, come on. You can't play in that system and with that machine and expect it to be clean, because inherently it is dirty as fuck.
Well, and the beautiful fucking thing is so her two like main life's work gates, they're all about showing you how reality gets twisted and distorted through sound and light. And here this docu-series comes out that is perfectly mirroring her energy and showing you what she's here to teach us of like, hello, yeah, look, they just twisted this shit around and you fucking believed it.
So maybe she did.
So it was really cool.
And did it anyway in this great act of martyrdom like Jesus, right? Like she willingly went onto the fucking cross and it's like, yep, you guys do this. Because you still can't touch me. Because again, what are you putting out there? You're not putting out a true version of me. You're putting out a false version of me that like, you can't touch me. And in that way, I'm totally fucking safe. Because that's not me. Ong Tilsa. Shall we play with some Akashic? Except for those of you who are driving, because I don't want you in fucking Akashic while you're driving, please. And not even in the Akashic, because we're not going to be in the field. We're going to... I don't know what we're going to do. Let me just say that. I don't know what we're going to do. But I want you to settle in here for a little bit to see where they want to take us. Coming into your Jed. Stabilizing yourself. And let's go ahead and go through each of those sectors. Starting there at your root with Da. 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 Ooh, deepening your sense of earth today. Da. 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 Rising centered into your Ganusa. Moo. 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 I can hear Ashleen singing, but not really. Moo. 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 And you might even notice now everything is activating the third eye. This is the way it's designed. Moo. Oh, I hear you guys. Show us the doors. Moo. Moving from water into fire through the ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, Aligning there with your destiny, with your purpose, with your key of joy and bliss. Ah, ooh, And up into the fires of Ket. 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 And landing in the terrain of Sa. 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 Moving from that cosmic expansion into air and the invisible element Nifu. 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 Woo. Taking that invisible matter and moving into antimatter. Akasa. 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 And I want you to go even more clearly through that gateway, through that egg of Akasa. To receive from Sekhmet or Shisahat. An experience, a teaching, or a blessing of this Seker of Akasa. 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 And don't be afraid of losing yourself in here, losing your mind. It is the deepest, darkest, thickest of the mysteries from which you will gain the gold of illumination. I want you to play with this idea of being outside of reality and yet choosing to participate in the illusion at times, finding the peace and harmony, the okayness of that. Ask to hold Akasa in your hand. Notice its texture, temperature. Does it have a smell? Oh, anybody tried to taste it yet? You can eat it. Can it eat you? Ooh, thanks. Ask for what your medicine is in here. How you can be aligned or put on track. With your unique path. Your gifts through the Akasa. Oh. And if any of this requires courage, ask them to bring that to heart, to gut, to legs, to toes and feet, wherever you need the courage to to show up radiantly in your medicine. To stand in that place of unknown and unknowing. As the truth that you are. Hand over to the Akasa now. All stories, all perspectives, all illusions. Oof, you want to hand over all beliefs. Or maybe just those things that are knotting you up. Any kinks in this etheric thread of you. How about any self-sabotage patterns? Let it all dissolve. Because the truth of you will never be denied. The truth of you is so big, beautiful, radiant. It's undeniable. Thanks. And if you doubt that, even a little bit, or whatever the glitches are, come into your heart. Bringing a droplet of Akasa into heart. So the antimatter of you, the truth of you, may radiate. So the sincerity of your heart may be experienced first. And I want you to just begin chanting on your name song. Maybe making an agreement with the Akasa to continue dipping in and learning from. To come into relationship with the Seker of Akasa. Ooh. And whomever you worked with today as guide and teacher, give them permission to be in your field. To give that protection. That layer of safety, of certainty, of radiance, so that you're safe to empower even more than you have before. You are safe to embody even more than you have before. Moving through the Jed, that eye of Akasa, going up and down. Feeding, nourishing, and bringing that truth to every temple. Dropping it down into the inner earth temple. I see you. They want to make sure that you know there is a pool of Akasa there in your inner earth temple if you'd like to find it now, or if you'd like to do it later. Please don't go into that pool. We could get lost in multiple realities today, but just know where the pool is. Coming back through your dead, moving up from inner earth temple, through you, and up into your dreaming temple, piercing through. Feeling the stars under your feet. Whoa, okay. Find what the Akasa looks like up here. It will be different for each of us. Om, your name, Sa. Oh, hello. Yes, yes. They say if there's anything you've really been needing or wanting, a big wish, a big ask, put that into words in your dreaming temple, Akasa. Allowing that wish, that desire, that big ask to activate through the Akasa of all of your selves, all of your energetic bodies, through the whole of your Akashic field. Closing up that dreaming temple, coming back into this body, this self, this waking state. Letting third eye remain very open. And if you'd like to write down anything that you received, please do. And also in your journaling, write down what it is that you want if you were clear on that so that we just anchor that here, please. And can I get a little vote from you guys? Do we want to share or do we want to step away and kind of like sink into the depth of this on our own? Those in favor of sharing, show me hands. That's what I fucking thought. That's funny. This is deep. And I want you to just recognize in, I know. There's so much to learn here is what I could like. Holy fuck. Yeah, Akashic Mystery School, good idea. Yeah, we'll get there. It feels very experiential in that way. It feels very much like everything we talked about today, like you have to ask. You have to show up. Whereas we know the other Sekers, the other elements, because they are here and created on Earth. This Akashic is beyond. You can't know it. You can have direct experiences of it. But I think some of the invitation today, as we prepare for Crown, is how do you work with this element? Sure, insight is great. That on its own, not that interesting. How do we, I know, because here's what I can say, as I experienced in there a lot of, in that like taste of it, like as soon as I tasted it, it ate me back. And I was like, oh, good. Like there's so much in here. What I wrote down was like cleansed and cleaning at the same time. Like duality dissolves in here. All of it is there. So learn and play with both the yin and the yang of the Akasa. It's both there. Cool. Did Shisahat show up for anybody? Ooh, okay, cool. I was curious. Sarah, I can't see what you're showing. Is it a little beetle?
It was.
Okay. The littlest beetle. Yeah, I love what Sarah has been calling in for animal energies recently. Quack, quack. Geesh. Did the duck make it through the night?
Oh yeah, I went back outside after the rain passed, but
Right.
yeah, we had some storms blowing here last night, you guys, and our duck came and knocked at the back door and wanted in the house. So it was a good time.
Any other netters show up there that you don't know who they are that need a little guidance on, or you're good? Cool. Wendy, thank you so much for going outside to do that. I appreciate that. Max, I will never try to wrangle in a fucking Gemini, so all is good.
I pulled over.
Oh, did
I
you?
stopped.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that deeply.
Because I listened to the activation on the road last Wednesday. Fuck time. And then for me to sit down and go back into it, knowing what was coming, I stopped halfway through twice. And then a third of the way through, and then a fourth. It took me forever to get through it because I knew what was coming, and I was so fucking terrified. So if I'm gonna do it, I need to just stop and do it.
I'm so glad you did. This wasn't as terrifying, was it?
What's the opposite of terrifying? Because it was that too. It's always the both, but it's
Orgasmic would be the opposite of terrifying.
I haven't come back. Cool. Not in my car. I'm busy and clothed, but yeah, it was close.
I will just say, if any of you guys are getting into those terror places, let me know, because I don't go to terror at all. To me, I'm just like it's juicy and I fuck like I choose to devour it. It feels so like home to me, I guess. Daughter of Shisahat over here, like I'm endlessly like fascinated and enamored and in love, like so if you're experiencing terror, I just need you to be like knock gently and you're like, excuse me, this is I may not be aware of it because it doesn't feel that way for me, and I don't mean to ignore. I'm also going to say this one like non sequitur thing that's been coming up. If you ever get to people who are offensive or offended, I need you to know that's just ego. Like anytime offense shows up, that is like such an obvious ego thing that you're like, and so don't let being offensive bother you, because that's just that's a real obvious knock at some door. Just an ego. If you're in harm, that's different, right? But offended, that's just an ego belief that's somehow being triggered. What the fuck ever, get over yourself. And then especially like that idea right now that we have of like being offended on behalf of other people, like, come the fuck on. You can't be offended for somebody. Mm-mm.
On the note of orgasmic, I wonder if anybody else has been experiencing where I recently have been noticing, like it's been happening more and more, like over a big chunk of time, but like especially these last few weeks, that the feeling of it is that I feel that I have more of me in me. Like more of myself has come into myself, and it's almost like coming back home to a lover, because in a way, like I recognize it as me, but it's also so new in a sense and like foreign because I haven't been living with that energy, that it's like it can be really intense to like tap into the feeling, so much so that at times it's almost like full body, like orgasmic kind of feeling.
Priestess Sarah,
So I don't know if anybody's been
something to share here, please.
Are you guys ready for like real life sex chat? I mean, it can be without like a.
And then if anybody's offended, step away now. But yeah, thanks.
I mean, we're all adults. So I practice solo. I am a single priestess and have been working with the mysteries in conjunction with sex magic practice. And you know, since we've been in third eye, shit's been whack. However, I will say that the inner child things that have been coming up, I took through that portal of pleasure this past week, and did a practice where every time a sensation rose in my body, I sat with it, I met it, I talked with it, and then I surrendered to it. And the orgasm started expanding until my body became completely open and like a portal. I was channeling complete light, white and blue energy from my taint to my crown. Basically, I was completely held in this portal of light. And then my highest self came forward and tied a golden thread around my ring finger, where I looped and became my own Caduceus, my own energy. And we started using the orgasms as waves to heal the false and old inverted timelines that I have been holding in my body. They're hitting different. Let me just say that. And then I actually allowed myself, after I was complete, to sit in my own energy and to hold space for both aspects of me, where in the past, whether it's been in single practice or with a partner, you know, I have immediately hopped up out of that creation space. And yeah, I spent a good amount of time with my high self. She is definitely big mama lion energy, and she's got this. So I came home to me this week during third eye in a really, really big way. Doesn't mean that I don't feel like I'm on fire. I mean, I literally had a laser beam coming through my entire body, but yeah, we have to hold the frequency in a different way. Like, all of this expansion is really, really uncomfortable right now, but we're being called to hold the line And we cannot abandon ship. We cannot allow ourselves to get caught up in looking to the left or to the right, or like at anything that is false. I am purely running on intuition right now and my own guidance, which I know is spot on 100%. And to doubt it is to doubt the alchemy. And there's no room for doubting alchemy right here in this now. So you guys, sit with yourself. And if you're willing, you know, to explore those spaces through pleasure, like, there is so much healing that can happen, in single practice. I mean, I can't even imagine like with another person, but, yeah, it's been a profound meet. So thanks for listening.
Oh,
I think
Sarah.
that was PG-13.
You did PG.
Yeah.
Whenever you said you're running on pure intuition alone, what I actually heard was like pussy power. You're running on pussy power and intuition. Like, let's get both ends of that. Thank you for sharing, because I know that you're not the only one who's experiencing that. And again, I have you guys who kind of come to me and don't all share with each other. So not meaning to divulge any of that. But yeah, this should all be super sexually activating for you, because what creation isn't? Duh. If you're being asked to create heaven on earth, yeah, you better believe there's going to be some sexual activations that go on through that.
On a more R level though,
Wait, hold
like
on.
to be able to tap. Oh, is there a little one in the room? Okay.
It was just the cutest.
Oh, okay. It's just my dog. When I was willing to surrender to the deepest pain of inner child, I was able to experience anal orgasm and a deeper womb orgasm that I'd ever in my life known. And the akasa that flowed was unbelievable that it was mine. So the wounds in there are ugly, they're deep, they're like cobwebs. And they latch up into other parts of your body. So you may find that the pain tries to run and travel as you're working through this process. And as you surrender and melt into it and allow these things to dissolve and be cleaned out of you, like I feel cleaner now on the other side of like fully processing that now, in big ways. So get your freak on.
And not freaky at all. Like purest, potentest. Remember, akasa is the most potent form of water. So in that way, bye, Alyssa. Love you. Yeah, I'd like to hear your experience. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear you yet. That potency of akasa. And again, like it's all a deep mystery to me as well. But there was one thing that Nadia said, that if you can learn how to dissolve your body into the akasa and put it back together. Huh. Don't know exactly what that means. Love you, Marilyn. But I've been playing with that lately. Shamanically speaking, there's what we call the dismemberment, which is when you do. Well, I know, it's so cute. Sekhmet's like, hello, didn't we do that? Didn't she eat us and put us back together? It's a dismemberment journey. It's a shamanic initiation. But today, for me, it wasn't about any deity or netter. It was about akasa, pure and of itself, which obviously, yeah, I'm going to be endlessly fascinated with for this and probably many lifetimes. Who wants to solve it all in one? How boring. We'll also drop in, because Angelina reminded us of this. We are getting into sex mysteries. There is big priestess magic in that. The book, The Magdalene Manuscript, supremely helpful, especially if you have any of these Yeshua Magdalene energies in you, as I know a lot of us do. This is activating through us. So as it's coming on, whether it's uncomfortable for you or doesn't make sense to you, let it activate through your field, because as I heard Sarah talk, like, the truth is you're a pure vibration and none of this is real. That's super scary because it doesn't make sense. I was also playing while we were up there with this idea of like, well, I'm going to a comedy show tonight because I fucking love comedy. And Neil Brennan, hello. I love Neil Brennan, so I'm very excited. And you're required there to put your phone into a like zipper case so that you don't have access to it, right? Is that offensive to me? No. Is it irritating to me? I don't know. I don't really fucking care, right? Is it that place where I need to take a stand because this is like impeding on my No, if I want to fucking go to the goddamn concert, this is what it's going to take. It's fine. So find those places that you're able to like, as Marilyn does, like slip through reality, I think. Where like it's not a glitch for you. You just slip right through the fields. I want that. That's what it looks like. Cool. Let me slip in without like getting in my own ka and stickiness of like what that means and what that looks like. The girlfriend that I'm going with, she and I have got a lot of ka together. So even in like her and I coordinating, but like we're both aware of it and we talk about it, which is helpful. Sarah, as you were talking, my journal is here that I was working with this morning. Thank you. My journal, as I brought it in, and it's why I was a little bit late this morning as I got on, there was a ladybug on it that has been here with us the whole time. Sarah, when you began speaking, the ladybug started moving. Ladybug is Mother Mary energy. So watch for yourself where any of this might bump up against morality and sexuality as well. Just know that that's something that's ready to reveal itself and be healed. Because there's no creation that occurs without sex. There's no creation that occurs without the collision of forces. So there can't be any stigma around how those forces are colliding if they are done with eyes wide open and consent.
We don't have to talk about it fully today, but I would actually, if we could have even maybe just like a side conversation around that topic of like the sexual energetic energy that's like happening through here, because that's one thing that I've actually been noticing coming up for me over the past like 2 weeks is like feeling this level of power that really feels like it's connected to sexuality, but the only way that I've ever known my sexual power is through being like promiscuous when I was younger. And that doesn't seem right or the clean way to express that energy. So I can tell that there's a certain part of me that's been a little fearful of that energy, but like curious about it. Like I want to know more about it, but then there's one side of me that's like afraid of the power there. And I'm not really sure what the fuck it is.
I think this conversation is happening right now, so let me just say that. If anybody needs to go or doesn't feel like they want to be a part of this, great. We're going to let this be a natural closing today for our Integration Nation, and then we'll kind of have this as a separate piece, because it's up, and I think it can be discussed, and I don't know that I or anyone else has answers. But for those of you who are stepping away now, you're on break for a couple of days. As much on break as an awakening being in a dying reality can be. But let yourself rest. There's no work to be done. Let the Akasa hold you. Let the golden light of your Akasa soothe and illuminate the things that feel hard. And we'll see you in a couple of days.